Good morning. Neither rain nor sleet nor snow will prevent us from delivering this message. My name is Jason Walsh. I am the Executive Director of the Blue-Green Alliance. I want to thank the members of Congress, the leaders from the environmental and labor communities that are here today in solidarity, in support of good union jobs, making the Postal Service's next generation delivery vehicle fleet. Today, you will hear from Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney of New York. That's what I like to hear. Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts. Chairman Jerry Connolly of Virginia. Ramon Cruz, President of the Sierra Club, a founding partner of the Blue-Green Alliance, I should add. Cindy Estrada, Vice President of the United Auto Workers. And here I really want you to give it up. All the way from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Bob Link, President of UAW Local 578. And last but certainly not least, the Right Reverend Lennox Yearwood, President and CEO of the Hip Hop Caucus. I want to make a public service announcement, which is that these are props. The real petition calling for what we're going to be calling for this morning is being delivered electronically, but we need props, right? I'm going to be back to make some closing remarks, but for now I will turn it over to one of our congressional champions, Carolyn Maloney from the great city of New York.
Thank you so much. This is such an important gathering to get today in support of jobs, the air we breathe, and unions. Thank you for inviting me. This is very important to me. In fact, we had a hearing yesterday on the Oversight Committee on this very topic. The Postal Service is one of our nation's most beloved institutions. It delivers mail to every single address in America, whether it's Alaska or urban areas, and it's in our Constitution, Article 1, about the post office. Today's a very special day. The Postal Service Reform Bill is being signed into law by our President at 4 o'clock. Jerry Connolly and I will be there, and it's a big move forward. It'll put it on a firm financial basis, but the work continues. We have a major contract, a huge contract with Oshkosh that will build the fleet for the future. Only they're planning to do only 10% electric. The whole country's electric now. All of GM, all their competitors. It is very short-sighted to have a contract to build gas guzzling trucks that aren't ready for the 21st century. Also, their contract with Oshkosh, I sent a letter, and I want to put it in the record for this hearing, to Oshkosh and to the Postal Service and everyone else, that it was our understanding when that contract was let that it was going to Oshkosh, and part of the consideration is that for 38 years they've had good union workers doing those jobs, building their facilities, building their trucks, and their credibility. And they have not confirmed that those jobs are going to be union. And that's what we ask them to confirm, that they will be union. They can be someplace else if they want, but they've got to be union jobs. The Postal Service operates roughly 230,000 vehicles. That's 1/3 of the entire federal fleet. And these antiquated vehicles, they do need to be replaced. But in the 10-year contract that they're going out, they're not doing electric cars. And on Monday, just on Monday, the UN issued a major environmental report warning that without immediate action, shifting from fossil fuels will not be able to keep global warming to acceptable levels. So I will be fighting to make this happen. I'm going to have to have allies here like NRDC, Sierra Club, UAW, and my colleagues in the House and Senate, the great Senator Markey and great Chairman Conley, and so many others today. Thank you. Let me get back to work. Let me sign that bill. Let me write them another letter that's even stronger, that we got to take a harder look at this contract. Thank you.
And I'm Ed Markey, and I am here following the great Carolyn Maloney and her amazing leadership in the House of Representatives, President Cruz, Cindy Estrada, Bob Link, Reverend Lennox Yearwood, Jason Walsh. We thank everyone who is being a part of this movement. We are a revolution, and we are going to demand these changes that the Postal Service must lead on. There is no option. We need to ensure that USPS stands for utilizing solar power for service. That is what we should be talking about, moving this revolution and using the federal government to be at the cutting edge of what needs to be done. There are too many errors in the USPS environmental assessment. We need a new assessment now, and at this very moment, as we call on the United States Postal Service to electrify their postal fleet, Russian President Vladimir Putin is continuing to wage a cruel and unjust war of choice on the Ukrainian people, financed by a global addiction to fossil fuels. But we can empty Putin's piggy bank and thwart the long-term security threat to Ukraine and Europe by using the power of our federal government to not only apply sanctions, but destroy Putin's dirty energy business model once and for all. And at the same time, we could save money, protect public health, and build towards a safe climate for everyone. Our Postal Service could play an important role by reversing Postmaster General Louis DeJoy's short-sighted decision to buy postal trucks powered by dirty energy and instead electrify all 160,000 postal trucks. That must be our goal. And if we can't get an electrified next generation fleet of postal trucks, we are going to need the next generation of Postal Service leadership delivered express to the American people. The Postal Service Board of Governors and the Biden administration can't let this bad for business, bad for climate, bad for health, bad for labor decision stand. If DeJoy won't get rid of this decision, the USPS should get rid of Louis DeJoy. A new fleet of electric postal trucks built by union workers would receive a stamp of approval from the American people, as it would lower costs, reduce pollution, and provide public health benefits. Louis DeJoy wants to claim he doesn't have the money to go electric, but that false statement should be marked return to sender. Some new funding for the Postal Service will come once President Biden signs the Postal Service Reform Act. But will these funds support vehicles made by union labor? No. And what is worse is that USPS knew that Oshkosh would move its delivery truck production facility so the new vehicles it was purchasing would not be made by union labor. These vehicles aren't electric, they're not more efficient, and they're not supporting union jobs. It'd be unbelievable if it didn't fit in with the rest of Louis DeJoy's leadership decisions. Since taking office in 2020, DeJoy has tried to pinch pennies at the USPS. So why is he now proposing a fiscally irresponsible plan that leaves $4.3 billion on the table instead of in the USPS budget? Because that's how much money you save if you move to all electric vehicles. You back out the need for additional gasoline. You back out the need for more repairs. He is absolutely acting fiscally irresponsibly. So it's simple. Electric postal trucks are cheaper, they're cleaner. This isn't charity, it's business. Companies are already doing it. FedEx is moving to achieve a fully electric fleet by 2040, and Amazon is purchasing 100,000 new electric delivery vehicles. These trucks also would work for USPS routes today. 96% of USPS routes are compatible with electric postal trucks. Electric vehicles aren't the future. They work for us, for our budgets, for our energy security right now. We just have to do it right now and ensure that we are the leader. We need to protect our planet and our postal service by putting a forever stamp on a fleet of battery-operated electric vehicles that will usher in a clean vehicle revolution in America. If we clean our grid and electrify our fleet, USPS will, in fact, be the cutting edge for the rest of our country and the rest of the planet. That is the option that we have right now. We need to ensure that USPS reworks this deal, buy a clean, electric, union-made fleet of postal vehicles, and if it doesn't, it needs to get a clean start without Louis DeJoy. So let's ensure that the Postal Service's next generation delivery vehicles create a livable world for all of our next generations. And all I can say is I now have a great honor of introducing a visionary leader, someone who is at the cutting edge of the all-electric vehicle revolution in our country and across the country, the great Chairman Jerry Connolly from Virginia.
Thank you, Ed. And by the way, Ed's from Massachusetts, as am I. I lost my accent. So I want to interpret. When he says that Louis DeJoy is short-sighted, he means short-sighted. And he's right, whether you call it short or short. When I was a freshman in Congress in 2010, I introduced a bill to electrify the Postal Service's vehicular fleet. That was 12 years ago. We could have gotten money from President Obama's stimulus bill to do that. At that time, it was estimated about $3.5 billion in an $800 billion effort. And at that time, the then Postmaster General, Mr. Donahue, said that he didn't want the Postal Service to be a guinea pig on new technology. Well, what a missed opportunity. Here we are 12 years later. That same postal fleet is 12 years older. The average age of a postal vehicle is 30 years old. What could go wrong with that? And it's not a trivial issue because we're talking about the second largest vehicular fleet in America. 235,000 plus vehicles. And as Ed said, most of them lend themselves to electric technology, and most of the routes they serve easily would benefit from electric vehicles. So why aren't we doing it? Well, Louis DeJoy and his team came up with an environmental study that's cooked. For example, they assume the price of gas will stay pretty much flat at $2.19 a gallon. It's twice that right now. And in California, it's $6. It's too high, but the assumption guaranteed that we were going to prefer a fossil fuel fleet for the next 30 years. They don't make much by way of assumptions on the savings and maintenance. But we know electric vehicles require far less maintenance than an internal combustion engine vehicle. Had they done an environmental study that was in fact accurate and based on real assumptions, we'd have a contract for an electric vehicle fleet with Oshkosh. We cannot let this moment pass. This is what's called a missed opportunity. And let me tell you, based on their current record, these vehicles are for the next 20 or 30 years. And by the time we get to, say, year 15, the entire fleet of the Postal Service will be obsolete. We can transform the Postal Service. We can benefit the environment. We can help customers who rely on the Postal Service with clean vehicles, efficient vehicles, vehicles that do not require much maintenance. And we can make most post offices in America recharging stations, not only for these vehicles, but for their communities. Let us not miss this opportunity. I've introduced a bill that would stop this contract and that would require at least 75% of the fleet to be electric. And Markey, I hope we can do the same in the Senate. And we're going to push for that legislation. And it said, if Louis DeJoy continues his defiance on climate change and on this transformation, then we need a new Postmaster General. Thank you so much for having me here today. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Raymond Cruz, president of the Sierra Club, who bicycled here this morning in the rain.
Thank you so much, Chair. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Ramon Cruz, and I'm the president of the Sierra Club, which is the nation's largest and oldest environmental organization. I live in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm originally from Puerto Rico. But I'm very glad to be here in Nacotchtank land. It is good to be here also in community, with many of our elected officials and partners who are strong leaders and advocates for climate, labor, and environmental justice. But I am not happy about the reason we are here today. So the reason we're here, as you know, is to urge the Postal Service to not move forward with its decision to purchase hundreds of thousands of trucks that will pollute our communities and harm our climate. And this is infuriating. It is indefensible. This USPS contract is both dangerous and entirely preventable. I can't wrap my head around the fact that it's 2022 and we're having to argue for a common sense decision like replacing the outdated, polluting mail fleet with electric vehicles built by union workers. This week, as you know, and many have said already, the new UN report by the world's foremost scientists affirmed, again, the imminent dangers of the climate crisis and its impact on our communities. Report after report, the alarm clock has been going off for years now. And we can't continue pressing snooze, again and again. So too often our leaders aren't reacting as we need. We need USPS leaders to take decisive action and control over their vehicle fleet. This should be very easy, common sense, and a popular decision, actually. How many reports do we need to wake us up? To put the necessary investments into the solutions that exist today to address the climate crisis and create good jobs in the process. We can and should fully electrify USPS, but the USPS Board of Governors needs to reverse its decision to move forward with an archaic contract that would sign us more fossil fuel consumption for decades to come. So communities across the country should not have to suffer from a daily dose of truck pollution when they receive their mail. Mail truck drivers should not be exposed to toxic tailpipe emissions on their job. We can do so much better for our people and our climate. So over 500,000 people, including tens of thousands of Sierra Club supporters, are telling the Postal Service to fix this contract and ensure that they are manufactured by union workers. So you should really listen to them. Thank you so much. And now let me introduce my friend and colleague, the Vice President of the United Auto Workers, Cindy Estrada.
It's great to be here. You know, I first want to start off by thanking Chairwoman Maloney for holding these hearings to really shed light on a very opaque contract. And I want to also thank our president of UAW Local 578, Bob Lent, who joined us here today and has been here a number of times. His plant has been open for 84 years. And it was because of the hard work of these workers, because of their quality work, and because of the drive and dedication that they have to this company and to this product and to their livelihood, that Oshkosh Defense won that contract. No one will be able to convince me that it wasn't the hard-working UAW members in Wisconsin that won that contract for Oshkosh Defense. And so I think Rep. Rashida Tlaib yesterday and also Rep. Ocasio-Cortez, you know, said it very clearly. This is an anti-union busting move. This is also, you don't get a $3 billion contract, and as Rep. Cortez said, and the ink is just drying, and you're already announcing that you're going to take it to South Carolina. Now, for all of the reps yesterday who were acting and have acted in the past like this is labor being against South Carolina, we are not against South Carolina, and certainly not South Carolina workers. We believe that every worker has a right to have democracy in your workplace. You shouldn't punch out of a plant. You shouldn't punch out of democracy when you punch into your facility. And so we would do the same for South Carolina workers, and it's going to happen, right? As soon as wages and benefits are decent, they want to move that work somewhere else. Before it was Mexico, now it's the South. And so we want to work together. I want to thank the Sierra Club and all the environmental groups and all of those in Congress. I see Mark Demenstein here from APWU, and I want to thank him for the great help that he's given to workers in Wisconsin. And I know we can redefine what it means to be an environmentalist. I say this to our UAW workers all the time. Caring about the environment, it means we care about the air and the water we breathe. It means we care about the communities and the community members that live there and what they're breathing and what they're drinking. And it means that we have good, sustainable jobs. So we can work together and define for all of those in the powers that be that we are going to define what being sustainable means. It means that everyone's going to thrive, not just politicians and not just big corporations, but we're going to make sure that this transition is just. It's the biggest transition we're going to ever see in our lifetime when it comes to manufacturing. And so I hope we all continue the thousands of petitions we're handing in today, not just by UAW members in Wisconsin, but UAW members across the states who, as their engine plants look at transitioning and politicians want to tell them that this is going to be a just transition, we're going to call I can't swear, this is a press conference, BS, bullshit, that is not possible unless our communities, the workers, and the environment is something we can build and have our children walk into a better future. Thank you. And I just want to introduce Bob Lent, an amazing UAW leader from Oshkosh Defense and with UAW Wisconsin.
Good morning. My name is Bob Lake. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. As president of Local 578, our contract allows me to take leave to do union business. Before we started advocating for the NGDV to be made in Oshkosh, I never had trouble getting these days approved. Unfortunately, Oshkosh denied my request for union leave on this trip. But it's so important that I took vacation time to be here representing my union brothers and sisters of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and we will be heard. Oshkosh Defense was awarded a 10-year, $6 billion contract to build the USPS delivery vehicles. And I believe that it was solely because of the great workforce and the decades of producing high-quality military and commercial vehicles. For the last several months, we have been working hard alongside politicians, labor leaders, and other allies to overturn the company's decision to build the new USPS delivery vehicles in a town other than Oshkosh, Wisconsin, where it belongs. As Vice President Estrada said, the new USPS delivery vehicle can be a great opportunity to invest in both cleaner future and good paying union jobs, but for UAW Local 578, it's our future. I'm here today to ask the USPS Board of Governors to reconsider and amend the contract. I asked John Pfeiffer, the CEO of Oshkosh Corporation, to reconsider their decision. Our workforce has generated great success and profit for the company. The company said it values its employees. We are the employees. Invest in us and reward us. Your decision will not only affect UAW Local 578, the surrounding communities, but the entire state of Wisconsin. Do the right thing. Build in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Thank you.
And let me introduce the Reverend Lennox Yearwood.
When I say union bill, you say pollution free. Union bill? Pollution free. That's not good enough. That's not good. I know it's a little rainy out there. When I say union bill, you say pollution free. Union bill? Pollution free. Union bill? Pollution free. Union bill? Pollution free. Oh, now y'all ready. Now you're ready. I want to first acknowledge the land that I'm on here, on Piscataway land, my indigenous sisters and brothers here in the great city, hopefully one day state, Washington, D.C. I want to again thank my colleagues who are in Congress, definitely my dear brother, Senator Markey, and all members of Congress. We understand that either you shape policy or policy shapes you. And so we thank them for what they are doing to put forth an agenda for all Americans. I want to thank my dear brother Ramon and all of my other friends and environmentalists who are out here fighting for a planet. There's a great sign that says there are no jobs on a dead planet. And so I recognize as an environmentalist and those groups like Sierra Club and LCB and Hip Hop Caucus and many, many others, that we understand that we are in a critical time. And I definitely want to thank my sisters and brothers in the union. It was many years ago when Hip Hop Caucus was first getting started, and it was the unions who actually took Hip Hop Caucus under their wing and was there in the beginning and gave them their understanding, and of course gave them a bunch of clipboards and pens and put them out there to the streets and get with it. So I want to thank my union sisters and brothers, and definitely those in Wisconsin who are going and need to build these clean energy vehicles. We are running out of time. That is why we are here. 100 years from now, they won't be asking who the Postmaster General was. They won't care if it was Louis DeJoy. They won't sit back and say, well, that person was signing contracts to remain with diesel. That person was playing games because they were signing on one side. They won't care. What they will care about is us as Americans, Republican and Democrat, unaffiliated Americans. What they will care about that we were doing the right thing at the right time. What they will care about is the fact that we can transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. They will look upon this moment and this time and say, you were 7 months before the next international climate negotiations. You were in a movement where there were countries who were fighting for oil and gas around the globe. Atrocities were happening as you speak. The Arctic was breaking off and falling off into the ocean the size of New York. There is pollution. There is dirty air and dirty water. There's wildfires. There's droughts. There's floods. And they will say that all you needed to do was transition the fleet of USPS to help us transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. And instead you were playing politics and playing games. They will understand, they will look back upon this moment And they won't care who's on this sidewalk or on these steps. What they will look for is for us as humans, humanity, black, white, brown, red, male, female, straight, gay, theists, atheists, humans coming together. So the time is now to transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. And because I know of the powerful work of the United States Postal Service, I thank them for helping us deliver our ballots and our mail and our bills and all kinds of weather. And they do that in vehicles that are outdated, archaic, and the audacity to want to buy vehicles and hold them to the old fossil fuel way is outrageous. And so we come here today simply to say that we're not only fighting for the present, but we're speaking for the future. To say that we still want our postal services to operate just with cleaner trucks and cleaner vehicles. Because we recognize we have an obligation to the next generation. Whoever's in the seat of power, do the right thing. Do the right thing. When I say cleaner trucks, you say now. Cleaner trucks! Now! Cleaner trucks! Now! Cleaner trucks! Now! Let's go get them.
The Reverend is always a hard act to follow. The guiding principle of the Blue-Green Alliance is a bedrock belief that Americans shouldn't have to choose between good jobs and a clean environment. We can and we must have both. The U.S. Postal Service has the opportunity to make that principle real. Let me summarize briefly what we are asking for. We are asking for the USPS to reopen its contract with Oshkosh Defense to ensure that the biggest federal fleet in the country models what the future of clean transportation should look like. That means requiring more electric vehicles in its next generation delivery vehicle fleet, and guaranteeing the vehicles are made under Oshkosh Defense's existing contract with the United Auto Workers of Wisconsin. The current USPS contract misses the mark for climate and for workers. It commits to transitioning just 10% of its fleet to EVs, and now Oshkosh Defense is trying to circumvent its long-standing contract with the UAW workforce in Wisconsin by building its fleet in what is currently a vacant warehouse in the state of South Carolina. By pursuing this contract with all of its obvious deficiencies, USPS is squandering an opportunity to decarbonize a huge portion of the federal fleet and is moving us not forward, but backwards in meeting our climate targets and reducing local air pollution. And it deprives Oshkosh's unionized manufacturing workers in Wisconsin of the opportunity to lead in building the vehicles of the future. The actions of USPS and Oshkosh Defense contradict and insult the Biden administration's stated goals of taking bold climate action and creating good union jobs at the same damn time. The fact is, as Cindy and Bob have said, the contract was awarded to Oshkosh because of its skilled and experienced union workforce. UAW workers in Wisconsin are ready to build this next generation of delivery vehicles. Now USPS needs to make this right by making sure that our tax dollars, all of your tax dollars, are spent building a high road to our clean transportation future, not a low road. One of the most iconic and ubiquitous images in America, from our densest cities to our most remote rural areas, is the USPS delivery van. The next generation delivery vehicle fleet could represent many communities' first experiences with EV technology. USPS has the opportunity and the responsibility to model for those communities how we can do this transition the right way. We need more electric vehicles. We need them now. We need them built by union workers.